Boston Brian here from the MeidasTouch Network, and we got something to talk about. Tucker Carlson, who on his show last night reinforced his treachery to the American people. Not only that, but he made it official that he thinks that Fox News, and Tucker Carlson viewers in particular, are the dumbest, most misinformed, most uneducated, most uninformed, most gullible people in the history of cable broadcast. There's just no other conclusion to come to after seeing the bullshit that he fed his viewers last night. Even though this whole episode and the rhetoric surrounding it was extremely predictable from the moment Kevin McCarthy handed Tucker Carlson the footage from January 6th, it's still shocking to see. It's still shocking to think that Tucker Carlson has absolutely no faith whatsoever in his audience to do the research, even though the chances are they saw this with their own eyes. Now, just in case for some mysterious reason your mind needs to be refreshed on the horrors that actually took place on January 6th, take a look at this.
We're going to see some of what our witnesses saw on January 6th. Please be advised that it contains graphic images and strong language, which many may find disturbing.
We're boots on the ground here. We're moving on to Capitol now. I'll give you a boots on the ground update here in a few.
Multiple Capitol entries! Multiple Capitol entries! We're still taking metal, sharpened objects, missiles to include bottles and rocks, and hand-thrown chemical-grade fireworks. Effectively a riot.
1349 hours declaring it a riot.
Okay, guys, apparently this tip of the spear has entered the Capitol building.
If I give this up, they're going to have to run next to us. We got to hold what we have. Hands off!
Yeah. Where the fuck are they?
There's a 50 who pranked 1033. I repeat, 1033 was from the Capitol. We've been pranked and we've lost the line.
They've got the gallows set outside this Capitol building.
Start making a list, put all those names down, and we start hunting them down one by one.
Now, I don't know about you, but here in reality, we don't call that a peaceful demonstration of people with just a difference of opinion. I call that violence. I call that an attack. I call that an insurrection. Now, the most jarring and ironic part about this whole thing is how Tucker Carlson came into possession of this footage in the first place, given to by Kevin McCarthy, the same man that had a heated phone call with witnesses around to attest to this, with Donald Trump asking him, pleading with him to get his supporters out of the Capitol? And just in case you forgot about that, let me refresh your memory.
Now, we previously knew that there was a phone call that took place on January 6th between Trump and Kevin McCarthy, when McCarthy called Trump, pleading for him to stop the rioters. I've spoken to multiple Republican members of the House who have knowledge of that call, who tell us that after Trump tried to say to Kevin, "These are not my people, it's Antifa," Kevin McCarthy said to Trump, "No, it's not Antifa. These are your people." And here are the new details. After he said that, Trump said to McCarthy, quote, "Well, Kevin, I guess these people are more upset about the election than you are." To which McCarthy responded, "Who the F do you think you're talking to?" CNN confirmed this exchange, Wolf, with Republican Congresswoman Jamie Herrera Butler of Washington, who was briefed on the call directly, firsthand, by Kevin McCarthy on January 10th.
Just from that short exchange alone, we could both see the seriousness in which Kevin McCarthy is speaking, and we could also see that Donald Trump admits that he knows it's not Antifa storming the Capitol and that it was his supporters. Also in that short exchange, Trump acknowledges why the crowd is there to begin with, because of their doubt of the 2020 election put in their minds by Donald Trump. Kevin McCarthy was so adamant that Trump deserved some of the blame for that day that he said this on the floor.
The president bears responsibility for Wednesday's attack on Congress by mob rioters.
It's hard to believe the same man that said those things, who has since now become the Speaker of the House, has bent over backwards for right-wing propaganda, giving them everything they need to create a back and false story around January 6th. I just can't fathom for the life of me what it takes for somebody who was actually there, somebody who actually lived through the moment, to then go on and help create a narrative that it was a peaceful demonstration, that nothing ever happened, that 7 people didn't end up dying as a result of that day, that it wasn't an insurrection, that it wasn't an attempt to overthrow democracy. It's just beyond me. I don't know. I mean, you know it's bad when it's gotten to the point where even Republican congressmen are calling you out, including Mitch McConnell.
Is this a lie?
I think it's bull. I was down there, and I saw maybe a few tourists, a few people who got caught up in things, but when you see police barricades breached, when you see police officers assaulted, all of that, or you had to be in close proximity to it. If you were just a tourist, you should have probably lined up at the visitor center.
With regard to the presentation on Fox News last night, I want to associate myself entirely with the opinion of the chief of the Capitol Police about what happened on January 6th.
And although it may be nice to hear some Republicans with somewhat of a head on their shoulders condemning this bullshit, it's far too few and way too quiet. Which brings us to what I believe was the best rebuttal and possibly one of the best speeches Chuck Schumer's ever given. Here he is with just an absolute beatdown of Tucker Carlson and Fox News.
Millions of Americans tuned in to one of the most shameful hours we have ever seen on cable television. With contempt for the facts, disregard of the risks, and knowing full well he was lying to his audience, Fox News host Tucker Carlson ran a lengthy segment last night arguing the January 6th Capitol attack was not a violent insurrection. By diving deep into the waters of conspiracy and cherry-picking from thousands of hours of security footage, Mr. Carlson told the bold-faced lie that the Capitol attack, which we all saw with our own eyes, was somehow not an attack at all. He tried to argue it was nothing more than a peaceful sightseeing tour, a nonviolent demonstration, a perfectly fine and appropriate instance of people expressing their opinion. I, so many others who were here in the Capitol, and millions of Americans are just furious with Tucker Carlson and Kevin McCarthy today. Many of my staff were here at the Capitol on January 6th. Their lives were put in danger, as were the lives of many of my colleagues, as well as police maintenance staff, reporters, countless others. To say January 6th was not violent is a lie pure and simple. I don't think I've ever seen a primetime cable news anchor manipulate his viewers the way Mr. Carlson did last night. I don't think I've ever seen an anchor treat the American people and American democracy with such disdain. And he's going to come back tonight with another segment. Fox News should tell him not to. Fox News, Rupert Murdoch, tell Carlson not to run a second segment of lies. You know it's a lie. You've admitted it's a lie. And Speaker McCarthy is every bit as culpable. Speaker McCarthy's decision to share security footage with Fox looked like a mistake from the very beginning. But after last night, it looks like a disaster. Speaker McCarthy has played a treacherous game by catering to the hard right. He's enabled the big lie and has further eroded away at our precious democracy. When people don't believe elections are on the level, that's the beginning of the end of this bold experiment in democracy that has gone on for more than 200 years. It's all the more shameful because Speaker McCarthy knows precisely what kind of customer Mr. Carlson is. He's not surprised by this outcome. What a low point for Speaker McCarthy. What a low point for Fox News. As reporting on the Dominion lawsuit shows, Mr. Carlson had no problem admitting behind the scenes that the big lie is pure garbage. When Sidney Powell went on the air to push the stolen election narrative, Mr. Carlson told fellow anchor Laura Ingraham that Sidney Powell is lying. His words by the deposition. Mr. Carlson's own producer texted him that, quote, "I don't think there is evidence of voter fraud that swung the election." They know full well they've been lying, and they're doing it anyway. We all, Americans of all types and stripes and corners of this country, Democrats, Republicans, independents, need to take a stand and call out Mr. Carlson's conduct for what it is, a dangerous, unforgivable attempt to destabilize our democracy and rewrite the history of the worst attack on our Constitution since the Civil War.
At MeidasTouch, we are unapologetically pro-democracy, and we demand justice and accountability. That's why we're spreading our message to Convict 45. That's right, gear up right now with your Convict 45 tees and pins at store.MeidasTouch.com. That's store.MeidasTouch.com.